I know it seems strange to many who have not had the experience, because they've been trained differently, and you can't blame anyone. I came out of a family of Christians, at least we think they're Christians. And I know that my family today will show me on mission to clearly say what I'm not saying. I know this past year in Barbados discussing with my sister, and she claimed that I'm saying or was saying, but this is before the vision. And before the vision, certainly I believe in Jesus as Amen. Same as many Christians will believe in Amen. Furthermore, you not there in some strange miraculous manner. And then came the vision, the actual experience of the mystery of Christ. As Paul tells us, it is said unto him, great indeed, we confess, is the mystery of our religion. Well, it is a mystery, then it is mystery. For history is certainly not a mystery. For history is based upon facts. And that's no mystery. Whether you admittedly like the facts or not, they are facts. So that's no mystery to the facts of life. And if the Bible is based upon secular history, well, it's not a mystery. But Paul, he said, great indeed, we confess, is the mystery of our religion. And he uses the word mystery no less than 20 times in his letters. He said, and God has made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his purpose, which he set forth as a plan in Jesus Christ for the fullness of time. So when the time is full in you, in everyone, that plan erupts, and everything said of you in scripture, which you were taught to believe was secular history, proves itself in you to be supernatural history. It's a history of salvation. You are saved by that pattern, that perfect pattern. So he was born in a supernatural manner. You will be born in a supernatural manner. And if his name was Jesus, you remain the same John or Mary, whatever your name is, but you are Jesus by reason of that birth. For you are born supernaturally. It comes so suddenly, it comes so unexpected. You don't look forward to it because you were not taught to believe that's what happens. You were taught to believe that sometime in eternity, if you were a good person in the eyes of him who is your Savior, that day he will decide whether you were saved or not. And not nothing on the outside of heaven. Nevertheless, you depended upon his grace whether he was saved. But all of a sudden you discover that he was in you all along. That the whole story of Christ is not in there as a pattern. But it can't erupt in there until a certain moment in time. At that moment, nothing is stopped. And you may be on a journey at the moment, and certainly not thinking of this, when suddenly the whole thing unfolds within you. And the drama takes the same time as mentioned in Scripture. It takes 1,260 days as told us in Scripture. The last chapter of Daniel, a book written 600 years BC. As Daniel said, how long to the end of these wonders? Now, I'll stick with this name as to where you begin to judge. But how long will it be to the end of these wonders? And he who stood above the water, he said to him, the time, times, and half-time. For the ancient counted of time was a year, and a year to the ancient world was 360 days. They divided the 360 days by 12, making 12 periods of 30 days. Then half of that would be the half of a time, which would be 180 days.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be doing another Neville lecture that I honestly may have done before, but I don't have it uploaded anywhere. So if I did do it before, hey, I'll do it again. Why not? And what we're just listening to, the lecture is titled "The Pattern Man." Neville mentioned the time, times, and a half as relating to the interval of time before receiving the promise. But in the book, I guess it's Seed Time and Harvest is the name of the book. I want to double check my mega book to see if that's actually the name of the book, because I've pulled it up. Because there's another section where he talks about that in relationship to imaginal acts themselves. Yeah, Seed Time and Harvest, a mystical view of the scriptures from 1956. So this is chapter 6. I will scoot to it. And here he says it's in Daniel, but in a quick Googling, Seed Time and Harvest comes from Genesis. And essentially it says as long as there's earth and as long as you're living as a human, the law is going to be in operation. There's going to be seed time and harvest going on. Hold on, I just gotta close down another program that's running. Let's get over here to show this off, because here the times and a half is in reference to the imaginal act itself. Well, here he's talking about. Okay, so he had a vision related to this. The question asked of him was, "How long shall it be to the end of these wonders?" And his answer was, "A time, times, and a half." I guess this. Let me see. This happened to. You see, who this happened to. It happened to a lady who went to one of the lectures in Los Angeles. So someone asked him about this quote in Daniel, and one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, "How long shall it be to the end of these wonders?" And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. So how long shall it be to the end of these wonders could be in reference to how long are you going to live a human life before receiving the promise. But it also can be in reference to how many times are you going to imagine for something until you experience it on this level. And so someone asked him, a lady asked him, and he didn't know. Well, someone else asked. She says someone asked him. And a lady in the audience decided, because Neville didn't know, if the mind behaves according to assumption with which it starts, then I will find the true answer to that question and tell it to Neville. And she manifested the answer through a dream, which is really cool, and it's something important for you to be doing. You can manifest answers to these questions as well, being that it's all your creation anyway. So you have access to infinite intelligence at all times. It may come through a dream, it may come through a lecture like this lecture. This little chapter or the lecture we're reading later may be your manifested answer to a question you asked 2 months ago. But you always have access to that. How it presents itself is pretty variable. But as long as you're paying attention, you're going to know when you've received an answer to something. So in her dream, a voice that sounded like Neville's voice told her, "Do it over and over and over again until it takes on the tones of reality." And when she woke up, she was prompted to reread that specific verse. And so it made those two equivocal. A time, times and a half. Do it over and over again until it takes on the tones of reality. A time means to perform the imaginary action, which implies the fulfillment of the wish. Times means to repeat the imaginary action over and over again. And a half, a half, means the moment of falling asleep while performing the imaginary action. For such a moment usually arrives before the predetermined action is completed and therefore can be said to be half or part of a time. So it's really just, this is how the SATS technique, the state akin to sleep, the falling asleep and the wish fulfilled technique, really. This is one of the one of the reasons why this is a recommended technique, and it has the note we left to ourselves in the Bible as its heart. Let's see if there's anything more interesting related to it. No, it's just another story in here. And it's how they heal the cat. Let me scoot back to the chalet and give a shout out to Complicated, who does the music for this stream. They're live during the week playing video games, and every Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the whole trio plays. Actually, I'm pretty sure I have done this one before, because it was on my birthday. But years and years before I was born. Though actually, I think there's a couple lectures he did on my birthday, which is cool. Just casually doxing myself to the one person, 2 or 3 people watching this, and the however many end up watching it later. But yeah, it's a pretty quick lecture. I was going to do another one called Arise, about the Millikan guy. But then I looked up Millikan's Wikipedia and found something a little interesting about him that kind of makes me go, well, the information can be given to you through any source, but all the same, I don't want to do a lecture focused on this guy because even though he was a great physicist, his reputation and his legacy really is tarnished by the fact that he was also a eugenicist, and his name was removed from buildings at universities and colleges and high schools and stuff. And it's like, well, we will eventually do that lecture because we are going to do all of the lectures. But to begin with, I don't know very much about his career in physics other than what I read on the Wikipedia. So I don't really know enough to say, well, let's do a lecture that's mostly focused on this guy. Now, that lecture, however, is really only focused on one thing that he supposedly did, and I don't know where Neville got this from, but supposedly when he was a young man, he repeated to himself for an entire day, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with mutual benefit and integrity. And according to Neville, this is why he was able to manifest not only a prestigious career, but I guess he did well in terms of finances as well, which probably most academics didn't really tend to do. But that's the only reason Neville brings him up. I don't know if Neville even knew that about him or how much physics Neville really read. I mean, he obviously did read some physics because he will occasionally talk about physicists and how different discoveries during his time backed up what Neville was saying. And I don't know if he ever cited Millikan in that sense. But anyway, this is a long rant I didn't intend to do. I am also today going to have to be taking little breaks to check on some food I'm cooking. I'm looking at the lecture like I've already started it. So the one thing I wanted to mention today before we start the lecture is that I notice in myself, and I know other people do it. Some people do it to a much greater degree than I do. A pattern of self-denial. And once you start waking up and you realize how comprehensive and I guess holistic yeah, to a degree. I'm saying, to simplify it, once you know the law is in operation and that it's affecting every component, every aspect of your life, there's going to be thought patterns from the old man, and not just on a given subject, just your overall way of thinking is still going to tend to the prior perspective of reality. So you're going to keep creating things like competition, lack, rejection, lack and scarcity, animosity, disagreements, ill health. And you'll create these things just because you have not only momentary lapses in knowing that the law is in operation, but out of an old habit. Out of a habit of having all these different ideas about how the world operates and thinking that those are absolutes. Thinking that someone is always going to try to compete against you for a certain job, that people might reject you because of X, Y, Z insecurities you have, that something can come up where you are at a loss for how to pay a bill. You can suddenly get ill. Those kind of thoughts might keep creating in your world for quite a while, for years, possibly even for decades, depending on how well you are pruning your mental garden on a daily basis and how much you're looking at these bigger world assumptions and seeing how just really stupid they are. The thing that I would like to remind you is that there really is no competition. The only person who can play the part of you has already been cast, and it's you. You already got the part. You're already in the movie. There's nobody you're going up against. And actually, this project is what is for a lot of artists the ideal project, because you get to write it, you get to direct it, you get to produce it. You've already got the part. You've been cast as the lead. So, and you have an infinite, you got an infinite budget for this project. Not only that, anyone you want to help you with this project, to star in this movie with you, to help you with any aspect of it with you, is readily available to you. Not only will they take the meeting, they'll take the job without any negotiation or a million meetings before they agree to it. They will instantly show up to set and make this movie with you. So stop creating and focusing on somebody else getting things you want and seeing that as somehow proof that you're not going to get what you want. That kind of limited thinking that, oh, well, I want this job and other people might get it instead of me, or, I really want to marry my specific person, but maybe they're going to meet someone who they like more than me, or, I'm trying to think of a sort of equivocal one that people tend to do. One people do with projects is, somebody's done a similar project, story, so therefore nobody's going to want to buy, watch, read mine because it's too similar. Well, stop denying yourself that you have a unique ability to express your life in really infinite and uniquely beautiful ways. Like, you've already got the part, and you can make the plot of your movie be absolutely whatever you want it to be. You can rewrite your character today. There is no reason to think that just because your life so far has been like a tragedy, that you can't right now flip it into a comedy, or if you want, make it an action adventure, whatever kind of genre you're feeling at the moment. There's no reason that tone shift can't be done. You're making the movie. It's entirely up to you. You're the only one making these creative decisions. So don't make yourself a bit part, and don't give yourself a really boring plot that nobody would be interested in, not even you. Give yourself the life that you want. And part of that is, keeping track of your thoughts, minding your thoughts, being cognizant all the time. Are you denying yourself? Are you saying, well, somebody might be better for this job than me, or, I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill, or, this person doesn't want to go on a date with me, so because they don't really like me. Whatever those little things you're doing, and I think that's enough of examples for you to clue in to what these kind of thought patterns can be for you personally. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. You have the unchallenged prerogative to decide otherwise. To decide that you're the only one for this job. You're the only person that your person wants to be in a committed relationship with. That you always have an abundance of money, an abundance of energy, an abundance of the physicality that you prefer. Stop all these little limiting thoughts that are keeping you from playing out the movie that you really want to see for yourself. Okay, that's today's rant. I'm going to take a quick break to check on this food, and then we'll come back and start the lecture. All right, we're getting to the lecture, All Things Exist. And the little pig friend that's on screen, it'll become apparent during the course of this lecture why he's there and what he represents. Okay, All Things Exist from 1968. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within. In your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. The world of imagination is infinite and eternal, whereas the world of generation is finite and temporary. This world. In that eternal world, the permanent realities of everything exist. Their reflections are here, cast in a glass called nature. The oak is cut down by the axe, and the lamb falls by the knife. But their eternal forms exist forever, and are renewed by the seed of contemplative thought. The permanent realities of an extinct bird, animal, or fish live. They can be resurrected and externalized by the seed of your contemplative thought. For everything lives within you. The world of generation I call the world of Caesar should not be neglected, as it is an important aspect of reality, even though it is only a shadow. This is really cool because this section here produced a lot of phrases, and Neville used them a lot. You know, he used the repetitive tone. He used the repetitive tone to the max. But what's cool is a lot of contemporary Neville students are still using these phrases. So they're using phrases like shadow world, world of Caesar, and then also the sort of contemporary thing that people like to use is they like to say the 3D or the exterior world. However, I think the phrase exterior world is a misnomer because there is actually no exterior. It's a continuous reality. It has layers and it has like a stratification. But it being that the exterior world is only a result of imaginal activity, it's not actually separate. Okay, Scripture urges us to revise, to forgive, and change our thoughts, thereby changing the conditions of our life. This is how it is done. A friend recently wrote saying 3 weeks ago a friend called, saying he was afraid he was going to be fired. I instantly revised his call. Hearing his voice bubbling with excitement, he told me how he had been praised for his work, and I felt the thrill of rejoicing with him. Today he came to my office and said the very words I heard in my imagination. This morning, while dressing, I was thinking about an ad I was working on which carried the name of a very prominent man in San Francisco. As I ran the ad through my mind, I said to myself, I want to put the word Mr. before his name. I did it and it felt right. I made a mental note to do it when I arrived at the office and promptly dropped the thought. That afternoon, the man called asking that I insert Mr. before his name, not in the ad, but in a radio commercial where his name was used. Then my friend added this thought. I stand in awe at the operation of this law. You asked about the little pig I saw. He was small but fat, and the way I am stuffing him today, in no time at all he will be so large he will fill this room. For those who are not familiar with this symbol, the pig is the symbol of Christ, the power and wisdom of God. Every time you exercise your imagination, lovingly on behalf of another or yourself, you are feeding Jesus Christ. My friend is stuffing his pig, because every moment of time he is alert and putting this law into practice. And I think the more you pay attention to your life, the more you're going to notice these little coincidences, and well, not coincidences, the more you're going to notice these very rapid manifestations, and you're going to see that right there. Labeling a coincidence instead of a manifestation is an example of old man thinking. That's exactly the kind of thing you need to discard. But so you're going to start noticing that revising on the spot does have an effect. What has kind of been my barrier so far is that because I have immediate evidence with those, I have started to think, though I need to correct this thinking, that my older, like when I revise something from the deeper past, that it doesn't work. Because the evidence of it is not always necessarily apparent. It's not always necessarily going to smack me in the face. Even though it doesn't matter when the thing happened. Revision still works, still applies. But when you're doing it with short-term things, with immediate things, with stuff where you see the effect same day, that's really great because it builds faith in the law, and then it reminds you just to pay attention to your life and to what you're doing. Now, a lady wrote saying, I found myself looking at an enormous building at the edge of a vast body of water where your classes were held. A man at my side asked, how do students get to the classes? Pointing to another student who was walking on the water, towards her destination, I answered, "That's how it is done." Unwilling to accept my answer, the man said, "But how do you do it?" And I confessed, "I have placed stones just below the water." Then the scene changed, and I am with a friend who said, "I am pregnant." Shocked because I knew she had no husband, I asked, "By whom?" And before she could answer, I awoke. 3 nights later, I found myself in a very large building containing a theater. This must be the same lady telling her dreams, where you were the one actor who was playing every part. She must be talking about Neville there. As you assumed the role of the blind man, I realized there was no one to lead you, so I ran to help. As we walked, we came upon a young boy sound asleep. Then you said, "I told him to meditate," and he has fallen asleep again. The scene changed, and I am viewing paper decorations hanging above a door. I reached up to pull them down, when an enormous wind caught me, and I felt as though I was born in the arms of a very strong man, and awoke saying, "I love thee, O Lord." This marvelous series of dreams revealed much. This lady admitted crossing the water while walking on a solid foundation. Now, the Bible is a parable from beginning to end, and the water is a symbol of its psychological truth. The literal interpretation of a parable is solid as a rock. When the meaning behind the parable is discovered, the stone is rolled away and the water found. However, if a little solid reality in this world is desired while playing with the psychological truth, it becomes stepping stones below the water. Loving what is heard is not enough. One must be willing to go all out and walk on the water. Instead, feeling she must be practical as she was living in the world of reality, where rent must be paid, food bought, and clothes purchased, she is unable to walk by faith at the present time. Let me give you a definition that came to me concerning the word faith. Faith is the subjective appropriation of an objective hope. When my friend revised the first telephone conversation, he subjectively appropriated what he had hoped would objectify for his friend. He remained faithful to his imaginal act, and confirmation came. Do as my friend does, and you will experience the glorious sensation of walking on the water in your mystical world. In my own case, I was pulled by a wonderful goose, the symbol of the Holy Spirit. Having lassoed him with a silver chain, the symbol of knowledge, he propelled me over this fabulous water. This is he who will lead you into all things, as recorded in the 14th chapter of the book of John. The lady saw the protein man when she saw me playing all the parts. As the dreamer of the dream, she has been impregnated by the one she spoke to when she awoke, saying, "I love thee, O Lord." Mary did not know the name of the one who impregnated her, yet it was the same Lord, the same I am. In this lady's dream, she was so brutally honest with herself. When the man insisted that she tell him how she crossed the water, she could have said she walked on the water. Instead, she told him exactly how it was done, thereby admitting to herself that she has not gone all out and lived by the law, but has a little anchor on the side in the event it doesn't work. In Barbados, we have a saying, "I have a hind claw," meaning there is some money tucked away in the bank, a little income from the family, or something I can fall back on just in case. We have these beach crabs on the island that are almost impossible to catch. Running at top speed, the crab can run right over a precipice and disappear. If you followed him, you would break your neck in the fall, but the crab has a hind claw that stops his fall. He grabs the earth just below the surface, and there the crab can pause and get his breath before climbing back and entering the race again. I urge you not to have a hind claw. Be for or against me, but be one way or the other. All right, let me take a little break, check on the food. I'll be right back. Ooh, what's in desktop audio? It's weird. Now I want to share an experience of a lady who wrote, saying, about a year ago I was deeply concerned for my mother. While lying on my bed, I began to imagine her face radiantly happy, and hear her tell me she had never known such happiness before. As I listened, I heard my name whispered softly 3 times. Startled, I raised myself off the pillow to see you, standing in mid-air. Dressed in a gray suit, you smiled, raised your arms, and removed the eyes from your head. Then you came over and calling me brother, you pressed them into my eyes. Bending your head, I watched it grow transparent and enormous in size. Then I saw that every living thing in the universe was there. You straightened up, and as you did, your head returned to its normal size. Again, raising your right hand, you took off the top of your head and handed it to me, where I saw the greenest of green grass growing there, and you vanished. This is wild. I'm pretty sure I never read this lecture on stream so far. Yes, I called this later brother advisedly, for regardless of the sex worn here, we are immortal brothers, all of us. So I say, go unto my brothers and say to them, I have ascended unto my God and your God, unto my Father and your Father. It was over a year ago when I placed my eyes into her sockets and gave her sight. Now she has become the incurrent eyewitness. And let's look up incurrent. It should come up. Looking for there. A current that flows inward. In her vision, she saw a long table. A man dressed in the white robe of a judge, carrying a gavel in his hand, entered the room. Looking directly at her, the gavel hit the table, and he said, I pronounce you the incurrent eyewitness. The word incurrent, he defines it later. The word incurrent means giving passage to a current that flows inward. The lady is now so conditioned that I can reveal all things to her so that she can know the truth of this statement. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. She saw that every living thing was contained in my immortal head. Destroy the garment I now wear or anything in my world, and I will reproduce it again, for my immortal head cannot be destroyed. Start now to practice what the Bible calls repentance, which is a radical change of attitude. No matter what it is, if it does not conform to your ideal, change it by subjectively appropriating your goal. Remain faithful to it, and no earthly power can keep you from attaining it. Go all out and walk on the water. Don't be like Peter, whose understanding told him imagination didn't make sense, symbolized as his feet, or you will drown in the sea of illusion. The world of Caesar, the shadow world, the 3D world, the sea of illusion. Imagination, speaking to his faith, said, Peter, come. And as Peter walked, he looked down to see how this was possible and sank. My friend, who did not look down, walked on the water in the direction of his wish fulfilled, and it was. All of the Bible stories will be fulfilled literally, on different levels of your being. You will experience them all because you're Jesus Christ. Blake tells us so beautifully, desires and perceptions of man, untaught by anything but organs of sense, must be limited to objects of sense. Therefore, God becomes man, that man may become God. If you only knew what your organs of sense reveal, you would never perceive anything beyond them. It would be horrible to remain an organ of sense and never transcend it. But God brought creation with him when he became humanity, and you are here to awaken to that fact. If God did not become you, you would be an animated body, limited to all that your sense organs would reveal. But having become you, God is awakening and will give you your desires and their fulfillments far beyond the wildest dreams of those who are still limited to the organs of sense. When Blake said, all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within you, he meant it. Being an incurrent eyewitness like my friend, Blake saw God's mystery of salvation clearly. I urge you to exercise your divine right by using your imagination. Be like my friend who is now consciously feeding his pig. Every moment of time, you have the opportunity to feed your pig. When someone phones to tell you of their misfortune, revise their words. Go about your business of creation on the inside, and do not do a thing on the outside. Use your imagination and let your words come into being. This is something that a lot of people who are new have a question about, which is like, should you take action after you've imagined? Here we have the clear directive. Go about your business of creation on the inside, and do not do a thing on the outside. Doing the thing on the outside would be your hind claw, to use a little metaphor that Neville just mentioned. It would be an act of faithlessness. It's essentially, you're not totally believing in your imagination, or at least you're not believing that the unfolding is going to be perfect. That said, once you have assumed the state, assumed a certain specific end, you're going to be directed to do things automatically. Sometimes when it comes to like a project we want to go well, it's kind of weird because it's like, well, I have to show up to work. I have to do certain things related to this. However, once you, there's going to be an automaticity to the act. And if you start looking at your unfoldings, you're going to see how automatic they are. So it's like, yeah, you did go to this certain place where you met this certain person who told you about the job and helped you get the job. But when you were going to that place, you didn't have any idea that you were going to meet this person. And even when you first met them, you didn't know that they worked for this company. So the more you look at your unfoldings, the more you see that this is going on. So even though you're taking actions, they're automatic actions. One that I've held in mind for quite a while is I had a manifestation of a coffee roasting workshop. And the unfolding for that included, I had a desire to go to the coffee shop in my neighborhood that I hadn't been to in a couple months. When I went there, the little notice for the coffee roasting workshop was everywhere. I didn't see it the first two places it was, but it was on like every freaking table in the place, signs on the wall. It was put everywhere so that I couldn't possibly miss it. And an interesting part about what I had imagined for is, like, I wanted to go to this workshop, but I didn't want to go like across town. I wanted to be in my neighborhood. Well, this coffee shop that I've been to a million times, it's been there since the 70s. I never realized until I saw this little notice, they have a roasting machine and it's in a glass case. I've been there umpteen times and never noticed, oh, there's the roasting machine. It's also possible that maybe there would have been, blindness to that detail. However, it's also possible that I did actually shift realities and entered a world where they had the roasting machine there. Of course, your logical minded person is going to say, well, if they didn't have the machine there before, they just put it in, Kelly. But actually, in the roasting workshop, it was disclosed that the one machine has been there for a long time, and the other, because there's two machines, the other one, the newer one, is been put there within the last few years. But I've still been there since that new machine was there, and the old machine has been there forever, and I never noticed it. My point is, like, my unfolding to end up manifesting this workshop was that I had an impulse to go to the coffee shop. But even though I had imagined wanting to go to this coffee roasting workshop, and it's coffee, so it's very related, when I went to the coffee shop, it wasn't in my mind that this might be how I manifest the roasting workshop. It just wasn't. And even what was so funny about it is it was so not in my mind that the deeper one within me knew that it wasn't in my conscious mind, that the notices had to be put up everywhere. Look at your unfoldings. you're going to notice the same thing. How you were going about your business totally not even thinking about your manifestation, even if it's a really, big one for you, and you ran into an old friend who turns out they were, key in getting you to your end goal. And you didn't even know that. Like, it's a friend who knows someone at the company you want to work for. You had no idea that they ever had that kind of connection. But these things will just line up and naturally happen to you that way. Now, that being said, don't go about your business. If you have a job, keep doing your job. Keep persisting in that. But it's going to be automatic. Whatever you need to do to get to your end, it's going to happen to you totally naturally. You don't have to force action. And forcing action is faithlessness. And it will, to a degree, either delay or cause your desires are inevitable, but I think it's going to prolong it. It's going to make your unfolding just kind of be more painful or have more, experience more contrary unwanted to a degree. You just possibly delaying your end when you take forcible action. Let me take a quick break, check on the food. We'll come back and continue with the lecture. All right. All things are possible to you because you're all imagination. And imagination creates reality. Knowing what you want, imagine you have it. Knowing what you want to be, imagine you are it. Subjectively appropriate your hope, and you have assumed the virtue you did not have. Ask no one to help, and do not feel below the water for something to fall back on if imagination doesn't work. Instead, learn to count on your true self, who is Jesus Christ. There's a little bit going on there. Ask no one to help. Now, Neville does talk about there were students he obviously imagined for people. There were I even told about the lady where everybody imagined for her so that she could be rich. So, and you're obviously encouraged to imagine for other people all the time. But the idea there is that for the most part, you should not be reliant on someone else to manifest something for you. It's okay to do that occasionally. And Neville even says that it's okay to do that occasionally because a lot of times it's easier for manifest for someone else than it is to manifest for yourself. And so that would be the same with people in your life who, manifest. And so, that's fine. But the idea is that for the most part, you need to have enough faith and confidence in your own imagination that there's not someone you're asking to imagine for you all the time, And then do not feel below the water for something to fall back on if imagination doesn't work. When it comes to your backup plans in whatever regards in your life, however you're thinking of that, well, if the career doesn't work, I guess I'll just go back into accounting or whatever. And right there, I'm thinking of Jim Carrey, who I guess his dad was an accountant, but he didn't want to have that backup plan, and he infamously visualized getting a large check for a role, and I don't know how long that unfolding took for him, but I'm sure he's gotten paydays that are way beyond that check that he visualized and accepted in mind for himself. He may have also written a physical check. It's been a while since I heard that particular interview, but the point is, he didn't have a backup. Like, he's like, I'm not going to be an accountant. I'm going for it. I'm going to be a comedian and a movie star. I mean, he did it. And when it comes to relationships, if you're being not just overtly double-minded, but even thinking about it. So if you have decided and imagined to be married to someone or be in a committed relationship with them, or just to be with them and only them, and yet you're thinking, well, if we don't get back together, I'll date again, or you're even actively dating again, I mean, the faithlessness there is going to absolutely deny you your unfolding. Unless that's what you really want, like you actually don't want this person, you want to date around, or you're someone who does, is polyamorous, and so well, this person will be together, but in the meantime, I'll look at other people. Like, if you want just them, you can't be dating other people, and you can't be even thinking about dating other people. It's complete faithlessness. If you're married, why are you dating around? And don't think that that's somehow not going to be included in what you experience. Like, if you really, really, really want to manifest marriage with a specific person, this is like a total rant here, but I feel like it's something that needs to be said. It really is something that needs to be said, because I have seen so many manifestation coaches encourage people to date around while they're manifesting their specific person, and that's fucking bullshit. If you want to, if you just want to date them and you don't really know what you want with them, but y'all had a breakup and you might want to get back with them, okay, then yeah, date around in the meantime. But it's like, if you want to really serious about marrying them, what are you doing? Like, why are you dating around? Like, it's just totally faithless. It's totally faithless. And you're going to end up manifesting something for yourself that maybe you'll want it then, but right now, the state you're in now, you don't want it, which is you'll probably end up manifesting a decision. You'll probably meet someone else, get interested in them, and then your SP will come back. And then you'll have this, like, well, who do I go with now? Dilemma that you never would have had you just maintained your faith. And it's like, I feel like a lot of coaches are misleading people by telling them that they can do that they can date around. And no, it's bullshit. Unless, like, you don't definitely want this person. You're not sure. If you're not sure, you just want marriage, then do the traditional Neville advice. Just put on the wedding ring in your mind, and then, date around, meet people, but still keep in mind that unfolding is going to be natural too. The person you end up marrying, there's going to be a naturalness to it. You're not really going to have to overthink these things. It's just going to unfold. But yeah, that's my little rant there. I'm trying to think if there's another one that we can... Another sort of example I can bring up. I mean, those are the two primary ones, because those are the two things that most people want, is they want a certain career or position in life, or they want a certain kind of relationship or position in life. So yeah, those are the two that I would think of right there. Jesus, your own wonderful human imagination, is your hope of glory, and there is no other Christ. Defined as God's power and wisdom, imagination is in travail until Christ is formed in you. On that day, your history will be changed from BC to AD, and every year thereafter will be the year of the Lord. Having been formed in you, Christ is born, and the words of Isaiah become yours. For to you a child is born, and a son is given. The government shall then be upon your shoulders, and you will be the wonderful Counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. and of your reign there shall be no end. Start now to look upon the great mystery of creation as the subjective appropriation of your objective hope. Dwell upon my words, put them into practice, and you will experience their fulfillment. For all things exist within you. Geez, that was a very short lecture. Let me see. Might want to find another one that we can do in addition, because that one was really short. It was only 10 pages. Let me see how long this one is. Or maybe I'll pick like a section of a book to do. I've done All Things Are Possible before, I'm pretty sure. That was a quick lecture. And I don't want to, it's only an hour. I do want to pick something else to do in addition to that. Give me a little be right be second, and I'll come back with something more to read. Okay, we're going to do chapter 8 of Freedom for All, called Faith. And I think that's very, being that faith was the thing just discussed. So let's go into a little bit further on the concept of faith and how faith is important to your manifestations. And of course, I had a recent rant about belief. Now, I feel like belief and faith are equivocal. I mean, faith is this overall belief in the law, confidence in the law and in yourself. And beliefs can be any number of little assumptions that have manifested out. And, the point of my rant was, what's the problem with believing what you've imagined for, or your affirmations or whatever? Really, what's the problem in belief? Like, why is that something that you have decided you need to exclude from your imaginal activity? Because it's something I noticed where it's like internet-based, and I am an internet-based Neville teacher, though not a coach, but I've noticed coaches saying you don't have to believe in the thing. It's like, what's the problem with believing? What is your problem with believing in you having what you want? You need to pick that apart and move out of that state. Because if you don't believe that you can even have it, let alone you don't believe that you already have it, that it's already yours, that is something that needs to be changed. It really is. You're not going to manifest feeling that way. And if it does come about, it's going to be temporary, because you're not really in the state. You're just not. You're just not. Yeah, because ultimately, if you don't believe what you're imagining and affirming for, your dominant state, your dominant body of belief is that either that you don't have it, you're never going to get it. If you do get it, it's going to go away. This thing is not meant for you. This thing is something precious that you're going to have to try really hard to hold on to. Something like that. And so if the thing does manifest, probably because you're doing sats, you're going to lose it. Like, unless you have a firm conviction in what you're imagining for, and in the concept that once you've imagined something, had it manifest, and you want to keep it, you will keep it. Unless you believe that, the thing will manifest and then go away. If it's a person, y'all will break up. If it's a job, you will get fired. If it's money, something will happen that uses up all the money, or you'll just spend it and not invest it wisely. If it's health, you'll get healthy for a time being, and then you'll get sick again. You'll probably get some new thing. If it's weight, you'll lose 50 pounds and then gain 70. You have to really believe. And what is the problem with belief? What's the problem? What is your problem with believing in your own good? Like, what's going on? Why are you doing that? All right, anyway, it's like, and also you got to keep in mind, when I'm doing these, I'm keeping in mind that I'm going to watch these in the future. And I'm going to clip them, and I'm going to have to listen to them. And depending on the state I'm in, that may be a message I need to hear that day. Because I know there's aspects of my life where it's like, yeah, I am struggling with believing that about myself. Why? Why is that a problem? It doesn't need to be. There is no reason why, for any given thing that I want, that I can't right now believe at least that I'm going to get it. It's not hard. It's really not hard. Faith. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto the mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. The faith of a grain of mustard seed has proved a stumbling block to man. He has been taught to believe that a grain of mustard seed signifies a small degree of faith. So he naturally wonders why he, a mature man, should lack this insignificant measure of faith when so small amount assures success. I love, this is one of the things I love being pedantic about. This clarification on the mustard seed thing is so needed. Faith, he is told, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And again, through faith, the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Invisible things were made visible. The grain of mustard seed is not the measure of a small amount of faith. On the contrary, it is the absolute in faith. So don't come to me with, oh, grain of mustard seed, that's all you need. No. Yeah, that's all you need, but absolute is a lot more than a little bit. A mustard seed is conscious of being a mustard seed, and a mustard seed alone. It is not aware of any other seed in the world. It is sealed in the conviction that it is a mustard seed, in the same manner that the spermatozoa, sealed in the womb, is conscious of being man and only man. A grain of mustard seed is truly the measure of faith necessary to accomplish your every objective. But like the mustard seed, you too must lose yourself in the consciousness of being only the thing desired. You abide within this sealed state until it bursts itself and reveals your conscious claim. So this means in the moment of the imaginal act, but also it should be your dominant thoughts throughout the day. If you have decided, okay, I want to be the, make up some bullshit title, I want to be the managing director of mustard seeds at a certain company, in the moment of your imaginal act, you're not unemployed working at the company you're at now, or thinking about the resume, or wondering if they're going to call you for the interview. In the moment of imagination, you are the managing director of mustard seeds. That's your job, that's your title, that's what you do every day. Mustard seeds nonstop. You're the mustard seed guy. You're not someone trying to get that job, someone hoping to get that job, someone wondering if you're going to get that job. In the moment of imagination, you have that job. And that feeling of being someone who has that job, you're going to carry with you until you get the freaking job. And then once you have the job, you're going to be like, well, yeah, because I imagined for this. I was the mustard seed guy, so now here I am, managing director of mustard seeds. Of course it happened. And this applies to anything you want to imagine that really involves this change in your consciousness. So if you want to be married to someone, in the moment of the imaginal act, you're not, they haven't texted me in 6 months. I don't know if they really like me. They didn't text back today. We haven't been on a date in 2 weeks. They're seeing somebody else. The last time we met, they told me they're never going to talk to me again. None of that is going on. When you're imagining, none of that can be going on. When you're imagining that you're married to someone, you're married to them. They love you and only you, and you guys have a great marriage. Whatever that scene entails, whether it's the simple wedding ring thing, whether it's an anniversary thing, whether you choose to go with the wedding day itself, or you're telling somebody that you're married, whatever the scene, in the imaginal act, you're married and it's a great marriage. You're not going to be married and thinking they haven't talked to me in 6 months. You're not going to be married and thinking they're dating someone else, unless it's a marriage you don't want to be in, right? You are married and thinking you have a great marriage. So in the moment of imaginal act, that's what you have to capture. And then your duty is, for that interval of time that's going to pass between the imaginal act and its manifestation, you need to stay as focused on that as possible. You need to stay in that consciousness, absolute in that consciousness. And really, when it's something long-term like a job or a marriage, you need to stay faithful to that. Because if you start planting seeds of, I might lose my job, or they might cheat, or whatever, you're going to end up manifesting that if you end up making that your dominant state. So vigilance is required throughout our lives, because as the Genesis thing said, seed time and harvest is going to be going on your whole life. You're going to be manifesting your entire life. So build these disciplines now so that, you can guard against a lot of unwanted that you would otherwise experience. Okay. Faith is feeling or living in the consciousness of being the thing desired. Faith is the secret of creation. The vow in the divine name Yad-He, Vow-He. Faith is the Ham in the family of Noah. Faith is the sense of feeling by which Isaac blessed and made real his son Jacob, because Isaac was blind. By faith, God, your consciousness, calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and makes them seen. It is faith which enables you to become conscious of being the thing desired. Again, it is faith which seals you in this conscious state until your invisible claim ripens to maturity and expresses itself, is made visible. Faith or feeling is the secret of this appropriation. Through feeling, the consciousness desiring is joined to the thing desired. How would you feel if you were that which you desire to be? Wear the mood, the feeling that would be yours if you were already that which you desire to be, and in a little while you will be sealed in the belief that you are. Then without effort, this invisible state will objectify itself. The invisible will be made visible. So if you are someone who's struggling, there is some advice here. Wear the mood, and in a little while you'll be sealed in the belief that you are. So in other words, if you haven't caught it completely doing one imaginal act, even though it was very vivid and you felt it at the time, if these other unwanted states are still coming up throughout the day, just keep returning to that feeling, and eventually it is going to become dominant. Eventually that's going to become your natural conviction. Eventually it's going to be the only thing that you believe. It's just that repetition is required, just like repetition is required when it comes to us not forgetting and having a true understanding of the law. Repetition can be required for certain things you want to manifest, because the faith of the grain of mustard seed is required for that thing. The feeling that you are it has to be absolute. So it's going to take a while. If you have a lot of contrary assumptions going on, you have to crowd those out. You have to delete those. You have to let go of them. So you have to keep wearing this new feeling and conviction that this is who you are now. You have to keep returning to it. But it will become the dominant consciousness. Just keep going. Just keep doing it. If you have like an anchor scene, or if you're someone who likes affirmations, have a few that you like to fall back on. Now, if you're someone who just likes to sort of imagine a lot of things related to something, like let's say you're imagining for a certain job and you know what the job duties are entail, you might like to daydream about what you would be doing at your job on Tuesday, if today's a Tuesday or whatever. And if it's it comes to a marriage, it's like, well, you might just want to daydream about you guys taking a trip, or just what you're going to do tonight. And that's totally fine, as long as it redirects your mind to the feeling of already being this. Okay? If you had the faith of a grain of mustard seed, you would this day, through the magical substance of feeling, seal yourself in the consciousness of being that which you desire to be. In this mental stillness or tomb-like state, you would remain, confident that you need no one to roll away the stone, no one to help you. For all the mountains, stones, and inhabitants of earth are nothing in your sight. That which you now recognize to be true of yourself, this present conscious state, will do according to its nature among all the inhabitants of earth, and none can stay its hand or say unto it, What doest thou? None can stop this conscious state in which you are sealed from embodying itself, nor question its right to be. The conscious state, when properly sealed by faith, is a word of God, I am. For the man so seated is saying, I am so-and-so. And the word of God, my fixed conscious state, is spirit, and cannot return unto me void, but must accomplish whereunto it is sent. God's word, your conscious state, must embody itself, that you may know I am the Lord. There is no God beside me. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. and he sent his word and healed him. You too can send your word, God's word, and heal a friend. Is there something that you would like to hear of a friend? Define this something that you know he would love to be or to possess. Now with your desire properly defined, you have a word of God. To send this word on its way, to speak this word into being, you simply do this. Sit quietly where you are and assume the mental attitude of listening. Recall your friend's voice. With this familiar voice established in your consciousness, imagine that you are actually hearing his voice and that he is telling you that he is or has that which you wanted him to be or to have. Impress upon your consciousness the fact that you have actually heard him and that he told you what you wanted to hear. Feel the thrill of having heard, then drop it completely. This is the mystic secret of sending words into expression, of making the word flesh. You form within yourself the word, the thing you want to hear, then you listen and tell it to yourself. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Your consciousness is the Lord, speaking through the familiar voice of a friend, and impressing on yourself that which you desire to hear. This self-impregnation, the state impressed upon yourself, the word, has ways and means of expressing itself of which no man knows. As you succeed in making the impression, you will be unmoved by appearances. For this self-impression is sealed as a grain of mustard seed and will, in due season, mature to its full expression. I think that was a nice little cap off for today. So going to be heading out for the day. We're going to... I've done so many rants so far today that I honestly don't have it in me to do another. But we are going to close out. I'll play a little bit more of the Patterned Man lecture. Now, this is a lecture that is about the promise, but that's okay because today, both the lecture and that chapter I just did, which is chapter 8 of Freedom for All, called Faith, those were both about the law. So having a little bit of promise contrast, I think, is relevant. All right, everybody have a great night. Have a great week. I will be live again on Saturday. I might do it at 7. I might do it at 8 Central Standard Time. Either way, I'll be here. And I think it's time to start working on the 5 lessons. And basically what I'll do is I'll do enough of it to fill like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And then might have some other kind of supplemental activity in addition to it, maybe a little bit of a game or something. But like for the 5 lessons, I'm going to do it in installments over the course of a couple months. I'll just do little bits here and there because it is so long. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Oh, also on Saturday, Camblicated, tune in to Camblicated because they're live every Saturday at 3:30 Central Standard Time, 4:30 Eastern. The trio plays live every Saturday, so check them out this Saturday. All right, everybody, good night. I'll see you again next time.
So that's God's gift. What greater gift could he give me than himself? What he gives me the honor. So he died by becoming me. He has to empty himself of his glory, to take upon himself the limitation of this slave. And he wears this slave throughout a number of generations. So I didn't begin in my mother's womb. I do not end in the I'm a father, there must be a son. And then where is my son? And here comes peace. To fulfill scripture, but it only comes to fulfill scripture. For the prophecy